I entered into what looked like the Vatican in Rome. I was told I was going to meet the Pope. He had a crown on, but his head was lowered and he was sobbing, so I could not see his face. I was very alarmed, but was told I must approach him immediately. As I drew near, the Pope lifted up his head, and to my shock, it was Mike Bickle. The pain and grief in his face was indescribable. As I locked eyes with him, I began to prophesy to him in the dream. Mike, you are being exposed. You must kneel and not rise, and the Lord will forgive you. Your crown is being taken and will be divided up into different parts of the earth. I knew the crown represented authority and favor with God and man. I continued to prophesy. Satan believes he will wipe out the prayer movement by unseating you, but he does not understand that the diaspora movement is coming. The fires of intercession are going to now spread all across the earth like never before. The light in Kansas City will now begin to flicker, but it must so that other regions in the earth may burn brighter than ever before. Suddenly an earthquake hit the Vatican, and everything began to shake. It was terrifying. Mike hit the floor and I ran out of the room. I had this sense in the dream that his salvation and heavenly treasure was secure, but that he was being stripped of his crown, authority, in the earth to spiritually govern in the years ahead. I made it out to the street and realized I had a long robe on. I reached inside the pockets and found several pieces of the golden crown that Mike had on with jewels on them. Each piece had a name inscribed on it, and I jumped on a horse and knew I must deliver the 5 pieces. I took one to Corey Russell in Colorado and told him he had been given authority to raise up intercessors for revival in Israel. I took one to Lee Cummings in Michigan and told him he had authority to convert through intercession the sons of Ishmael, who I knew were not only Arab people, but also charismatics who divorced the word from the spirit. The third one I gave to Brian Williams in Ohio. I told him he was given authority to impact the government through intercession and birth, and send end-time missionaries to the ends of the earth. With the fourth one, I sent it to the people of Asia, and knew it would be given to many men and women who had a mandate to pray for the salvation of Israel. The authority on the fourth crown was too large for one man. It was for an entire people group. The final crown I took to Florida. I went to the house of Alan Hood and knocked on the door. I knew he was inside, but he could not answer the door. I realized it was unlocked and went inside. When he saw me, he acted like he knew I was coming. He walked toward me, but his hip had been severely displaced. I was startled because he was limping so bad, but I knew he had been touched by heaven like Jacob. I said to him, "Alan, this last piece is different. I do not have a crown for you. What God has for you is a book." I reached in my pocket and pulled it out. I said, "It's the book of remembrance from Malachi 3:16-18. You are called to gather families in living rooms and dining room tables and teach them to fear the Lord. This burden will be greater than the burden to call them to prayer like those who have the other crowns." Alan began to weep, and then he began to rejoice. He looked at me and said, "I'm going to give the rest of my days to Zechariah 2 and 3. With that, he limped back to his study where he was when I knocked on the door and I left. Then I woke up. 7 prayer points. 1. Pray for Mike Bickle. 2. Pray for the victims. 3. Pray for the advocacy group. 4. Pray for the IHOPKC leadership team. 5. Pray for the future of the prayer movement. 6. Pray for truth and repentance. 7. Pray for the testimony of Jesus. With many tears and tremendous grief, Jeremiah Johnson.